Welcome back. You are tuned in to Traders Nation. I'm pleased to have book author Jean Johnson. She's with us here today. She authored Where Does the Money Go? Your Guided Tour to the Federal Budget Crisis. Jean, welcome to Traders Nation. How are you today?
I'm very good, thanks.
Good. Listen, considering today's topic, Jean, I'm fully prepared. I have my snorkel and goggles with us here today because I think we are. Do we need a submarine considering the budget deficit?
Well, we certainly need to start paying attention to it. It just can't go on like this.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, so bring us up to speed. What's going on with it? How much money are we going into debt every single day, or is what?
It's $9 trillion. There's a debt clock here in New York City, and it was put up in the late 1980s,
right.
And it doesn't even have space to go over to $10 trillion, which we're going to go over to not too far in the future. We have the government has been in debt in red ink for 31 out of the last 35 years. So this is absolutely routine practice in Washington because they don't want to face up to choices about taxes and spending.
Yeah.
And we keep trying to have it both ways.
We can't have it both ways, and I don't know why the Republicans have decided they're going to outspend the Democrats. I'm kind of up the middle, a little towards the conservative side. So what are the people in New York going to do quite quickly when they reach that next digit? Are they going to have to spend a lot of money to update that sign?
You know what? I think what they're going to do is they're going to take the dollar sign off and put the one there. We all know it's money, so it probably will still work for a while.
That'd probably be a good idea. All right, now, how can we... let me ask you first this. How does it affect our savings, our retirement? I mean, what's going on with the federal deficit?
Well, I think the most immediate issue is that we are spending over $200 billion a year on interest on the debt, which is actually more than we spend on the war in Iraq. It's a huge amount of money.
Right.
If we keep adding to it and adding to it and adding to it, it will eventually drive up interest rates. Most people think of interest rates as being a problem on their mortgages, but it really just slows down the economy. It slows down business. There's layoffs. We don't want that. It will just really sort of gradually take down our standard of living. And I think the second part of this problem is not just the debt. It's that we face these big payouts for Social Security and Medicare down the road. And there's this kind of nasty little factoid that's circulating around D.C. If we leave everything just as it is right now, Social Security, Medicare, we don't do anything about the deficit spending. About the time that, if you have little kids, about the time they're starting their lives, every single dollar collected in taxes will be needed to pay for Social Security, Medicare, and interest on the debt. There won't be any money left for anything else.
Now, Jean,
so we have to address this.
Jean, it's no surprise to you. It's no surprise to me. In fact, I hear this a lot of places. So as American people, it's no surprise to American people. We don't have money for Social Security. We're not going to have money for Medicare when we get to the age that we're going to need it. So why aren't the politicians, because they're not statesmen, why are the politicians, aren't they addressing this issue?
Well, I do say it takes two to tango.
Yeah.
The politicians don't address it because, if you look back, anybody who even mentions raising taxes goes down to defeat.
Right.
Anybody who mentions, cutting back on Social Security, cutting back on Medicare, it's just a recipe for, political disaster.
Yeah.
So we've kind of enabled them to do that. I think there are people who are worried about it, but the American people, we need to wake up. We need to demand more candor. And, when we've done actually in our organization a lot of public opinion research, and I think there's a whole group of Americans in their heart of hearts, they know we've got to do something about this, and we just really need to build a movement that demands a little more candor and responsibility from our leadership.
Right.
We can't go on like this.
All right, now listen. Everybody says, why wasn't the housing, why wasn't it forecasted, why wasn't it brought out, and why wasn't it stopped before the bubble burst? But there's no excuse for the Medicare and the Social Security. Everyone's talking about it. It's not like it's going to be a big surprise, so we should be fixing it now, and not when the bubble's bursting later on. That's my opinion on that. Let's talk about laying the blame. You did mention that the Iraqi war is costing us some money, but we can't lay the blame on that war, can we?
Well, not totally. I mean, it's certainly a lot of money, but I think a lot of Americans are under the impression that, if we hadn't gone into war and we stopped it right now, that everything would be hunky-dory with the budget, which is not true. And I think a lot of Americans similarly think that, if we just hadn't had the Bush tax cuts, everything would be hunky-dory. That's not quite true either. It's a big financial problem, and balancing the budget is only part of it. we really have to look at Social Security and Medicare.
All right. Now, closing the gap on the budget deficit, that's not going to cure it. What are some other things as far as the Medicare and Social Security is concerned? What are some other things that the government compound, what they can do to compound to cure the Medicare and the Social Security crisis that we're ultimately going to end up seeing?
Well, there are lots of ideas, and, we outline 14 different ideas for addressing these problems in the book. We don't take a position on them. It's really for people to think about.
Right.
But, for example, on Social Security, the most unpopular one with the American public is pushing back the age. Mm-hmm. But we're all living a lot longer. We're all a lot healthier. We need to kind of, do we want to push it back, particularly the 62? Maybe we should, push that back. They don't even collect Social Security taxes on anybody who earns over $100,000 a year. So, toward the end of the year, people that are earning pretty good salary, you start seeing a nice little bonus in your package. Maybe we need to look at that. There's lots of suggestions about trimming the benefits, particularly for people on the upper income scale. Is the cost of living increase? Is that right? Increasing the deductibles and the premiums on Medicare, particularly for upper income people. Do we want to look at a system that it has more competition in it? We get the bargaining power of people in terms of buying their health care. Do we want to look at a system that bargains tougher with health care and drug companies, sort of a single payer idea and get the best prices for our money? There are lots of different ideas, and all of them have pros and cons.
Right.
But we need to start talking about them and not just pretend that it will work itself out.
Yeah, I don't want to be like a simpleton here, Gene, but it seems to me that maybe they should consider smart budgeting instead of building millions of dollars worth of bridges that go into nowhere. Maybe they should be focusing that kind of money into this plan. Because I think, and I know that people are living longer, I think that moving the age from 62 or 63, whatever it is, to 65, 66, I think that's a breach of contract. I mean, that's not what we were told when we first started putting into it.
Well, I think I think we do have to have a choice. I mean, there is if you care about Social Security and Medicare and you believe they're good programs,
right,
you really have to think about giving them a nip and a tuck.
Yeah.
You can't; they're just not going to stand. We need to have a debate about what we're going to do. There are lots of good ideas out there, but I think that in some ways, the political issue is a very simple one. We cannot keep lowering taxes or even keep them the way they are now and do everything Americans say they want to do in the polls. Pay for this, pay for that, pay for this, pay for that. It's got to the numbers have to add up.
Yeah. All right. Now, what's the difference? And this is the last chapter in your book, and I do want to cover this. What's the difference between the liberals and the conservatives when it comes to this topic?
Well, I think that conservatives typically want low taxes and a small government. I think the problem there is that, the taxes are actually historically low since the 1950s or so. Yeah. But we haven't done very good on the spending side of it if you're a conservative.
That's
and on the liberal side of it, I think there's a sense that they do believe that, government can provide services. They believe in that. They believe that's the purpose of it.
Right.
But, if you're going to provide those, you have to be realistic about paying for those.
Right.
So both sides have been, kind of taking the easy road out and not really being candid about their programs.
All right, there you have it. Jean Johnson, she's with us here today. She's book author, Where Does the Money Go? Your guided tour to the federal budget crisis. Now, Jean, where can we find the book at?
You can find it at all the usual sources, Barnes & Noble and Borders and Amazon. And, we try to make it simple. Our point is not to be wonky about this, but to really let people who are not economists and budget analysts, let's get a grip on this so we can start thinking about it.
Fantastic. All right, head out today, get a copy of Jean's book. Again, Where Does the Money Go? Go to Barnes & Noble, Amazon, your local bookstore, wherever books are sold, you're going to be able to find us. Jean, thanks for being on Traitors Nation today.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time. All right, Jean Johnson, once again, folks, great book. Get a copy of it today. Where Does the Money Go? Your guided tour to the federal budget crisis. And isn't that the truth? I mean, I tell you what, we're running out of money. Running out of money. I don't know how we're going to pay for all this stuff, all these things that make you want to feel good, want to do good things around the world. Who's going to be doing them for us when we run out of money?